Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today is an awesome day because I got a package in the mail. Inside this package are some old Matchbox Superfast cars and an old Corgi Jr. truck. I thought it would be a great opportunity to review some tips and tricks for purchasing older Matchbox cars online. Some of these tips may apply to Hot Wheels and other brands, but we're going to mostly be talking about Matchbox based on the way they release models and what they call the Lindsay era. I'm going to grab something to open this box up so we can start the show. Okay, so here we go. Looking forward to seeing these. Oh yeah, here we go. Wrapped in paper, wrapped in bubble wrap. Scotch tape is proving to be a bit much for me. Ah, here it is. The Stretcha-Fetcha. This is in pristine condition. Had this one when I was a kid. I'm really excited to be seeing that. That's the Stretcha-Fetcha. Next up, I know what this one is. This is, I told you I had one Corgi vehicle in here. Corgi Jr. This is the coal truck. Again, pretty nice condition. A little bit of chips on it, but I could see those in the photos when I bought this lot. This was all the four vehicles were in one lot. Don't know a lot about this one, but we'll try to find out something about it. This is the... Oh, this one's great too. This is the Leland pipe truck, and this thing could either be from the early 70s or mid to late 60s, and we're going to look up all that information on the show today. I'm going to go through that process of how to date these things and how to find out more about them, some websites to go to. I think that'll be really useful if you're trying to collect some of these old Matchbox cars. I've had some people asking me about where they can get some information. And then it's the ambulance, and that is looking great as well. Opening doors, and boy, there's a lot of, let's see if I can get it to focus. There's a lot of detail inside that ambulance. These are great cars to add to my collection. I'm super excited. We're going to go through these castings one by one, and I'll tell you a little bit about how to date them, how old they are. Of course, you can see the base. You can see that they're Superfast era cars. But we're going to go a little bit more into the web and where you can go to get some information. So if you want to bid on some cars like these online, you've got kind of all the tools that you need to be successful. Hang tight, and I will put up some photos of these, and we'll go through them. For this episode, I thought it might be cool to do an opening and then use some photos so I can point out some details while we're talking. The first thing we should discuss is the different eras of Matchbox cars. The first era was the Lesney era. These are the vehicles that were released prior to 1982, with some production carryover into 1983. They have the name Lesney stamped on the bottom of the casting. The Lesney era is further broken down into the pre-1970, or the regular wheel era, and the Superfast era. Hot Wheels came out in the late 60s and started really taking a lot of the market share because their cars were fast, really fast. To compete with their new rivals, Matchbox changed their wheel type and axles. The new line of vehicles had large wheels with chrome rims and Superfast stamped on the bottom. Just to confuse things a little bit here, some regular wheels vehicles were released during the Superfast era, so not all regular wheel vehicles predate 1970. When I make online purchases for my collection, I try to focus on the vehicles that are stamped Made in England. That way I know I'm dealing with vehicles made during the Lesney era. There's nothing wrong with collecting cars produced later. I just decided to stick with the made in England vehicles to let me focus on a limited amount of auctions and so I wouldn't mistake a newer version for an older, more valuable version. The next thing to note is the dates on the bottom of the vehicles, or what's called the base of the vehicle. In the early days of Matchbox, they would release 75 vehicles a year. Some of the models would be carried over from year to year, and they would be very nearly exactly the same as the prior year's issue. This makes it very hard to be sure what year the vehicle was made. A lot of the eBay listings use the year stamped on the bottom of the car. This is the copyright year, and not always the year that particular car was made. Some sellers may not know the difference, and others may be intentionally trying to make the car seem older than it is. So let's look at some of the cars that I just purchased. There were 4 cars in this one lot. This was great because I only paid one shipping fee, and I paid a little less per car. Sometimes this can work against you. If you already have some of the cars in the lot, or you're not interested in some of them, you're buying something you don't necessarily want. In this case, I was glad to get all of these, so it worked out great. I'll go through these and give you an idea of how I determine the date on these, because the date is really important to me because I'm trying to collect from a particular era. The ambulance was probably the easiest of these cars to date. From the auction photo, I could see that it was number 41, and from the wheels and the base, I knew it was from the Superfast era. From there, I went to Christian Falkensteiner's website. I'll put up the address, but you can just Google Superfast Guide and it typically comes up. His guide is an amazing resource with photos and Word documents that list all of the known variations of each model. A look at the guide indicated that the ambulance was made between 1978 and 1982. The stickers on the side, Emergency Medical Service, placed this as a 1978 US edition, which was a perfect fit for my collection. The next ambulance I picked up was the Stretch-a-Fetcha. This is one that I definitely had to have. I had this as a child and I'm really excited to have one again. The red base made it a little tougher to read on the auction photos, but I could definitely make out that it was a Superfast made in England, so I knew it was in my area of interest. The Stretch-a-Fetcha came out in 1972, 77, and 1980. The 1980 version was lime green, so I knew it wasn't that. I was hoping for a 1972 edition. Looking at Falkensteiner's chart, I was able to eliminate the versions that had no labels, the rare red painted version, and the Red Cross labeled cars. This still left me with an amazing 12 possibilities, 3 of which were 1977 and the rest 1972. I eliminated 2 more 1977s because they had amber lights and windshields, and mine has blue. The last elimination was the tailgate. The final 1977 on the list has a red tailgate, mine's white, so by process of elimination, it's definitely a 1972 issue. The last Matchbox truck is the Leland pipe truck. The pipe truck came out in 1970, 71, and 72 in the Superfast era. When I looked at the list, all of these had Superfast rims, those chrome rims. This one that I bought has regular wheels, and that is great news for me. The regular wheel edition ran from 1966 to 1969, so how old is mine? All of the issues were red, all of the years had the same grille and cab base, and all had blue windows. The answer lies in the stamp on the cab base. If it's stamped Leland, it's a first edition 1966, and that's exactly what mine is. Awesome pickup of a really old casting. The last vehicle that I got in this lot was this Corgi Jr. Guy Warrior truck, the Cold Truck. I'm still looking for a good source of information on these. I believe this was released in the late 70s, but I'm searching for information on it. I know there's a book out there, and I'm going to try to get my hands on it. If anybody knows any good sources of Corgi information, if you could post it in the comments, it'd be really helpful to everybody. So that's how I go about evaluating whether or not I want to bid on something. I definitely stay away from anything that doesn't show the base. It's one of the most reliable ways to date a vehicle, and people can restore these cars by drilling out the rivets and repainting. A lot of them do a fantastic job, but if you want original, make sure you can see the rivets in the photos. I hope there was some useful information here. I'm excited to add these to my collection. Thanks for checking out these old cars with me. I really appreciate it. And until next time, enjoy the ride.